Power. Everyone wants it. Some chase it to protect, some chase it to belong, and some chase it because they're terrified of being ordinary. Homelander isn't just a character. He's a mirror, a reflection of what happens when strength becomes a substitute for self-worth. Behind the perfect smile, behind the patriotic suit, behind the godlike image, lives a man who was never taught how to be human. He was raised in a lab, not a home. Trained, not nurtured. Admired, but never loved. And that distinction between admiration and love is where everything begins to fall apart. In psychology, Freud called it the narcissistic wound, a deep void born when a person's sense of worth depends entirely on external validation. When the love you crave never comes, you learn to replace it with power, with control, with applause. But applause is a fragile currency. It fills the room for a moment and leaves you emptier than before. Homelander is adored by millions, yet constantly searching for one thing he's never had: unconditional acceptance. Every scream of adoration is another reminder that no one truly knows him. That even his image, the greatest hero alive, is just a mask built to hide an unbearable loneliness. Carl Jung once said, "The greater the light, the darker the shadow." And that's exactly what defines him. His light, the symbol of perfection, is blinding. But his shadow, the insecurity and fear he refuses to face, grows larger with every act of dominance. In many ways, Homelander's obsession with control mirrors our own modern lives. We curate, edit, filter, trying to project our most flawless version to the world. But beneath every post, every success, every compliment, there's often a quiet fear. If I stop performing, will I still matter? Power without inner peace becomes poison. Control without compassion becomes tyranny. And validation without self-respect becomes addiction. That's what makes Homelander terrifying. Not his strength, but his fragility. Because we recognize it, that desperate need to be seen, to be admired, to be enough. The difference is that most of us don't have the means to destroy the world when we feel unseen. But internally, we can cause the same kind of chaos. We lash out. We manipulate. We perform. All in the name of being validated. Modern research in psychology supports this pattern. A 2010 study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that narcissism often arises not from self-love, but from a deep, unhealed shame, a belief that I must be extraordinary to deserve acceptance. The louder the ego becomes, the more desperate the heart actually is. And this is the tragic paradox of Homelander. He believes that power will earn him peace. But peace cannot coexist with fear. And everything he does is born from fear. Fear of irrelevance, fear of rejection, fear of being ordinary. In one scene, you can see it in his eyes. When the crowd cheers, he smiles with a guignol. But his eyes flicker with panic. Because he knows, if they stop cheering, he ceases to exist. That's the curse of external validation. It makes you the prisoner of your own image. So what can we learn from him? How do we prevent our own strength from turning into emptiness? The answer lies not in seeking admiration, but in building integrity. In learning to do what's right even when no one is watching. In choosing to live by principles, not applause. Because the person who earns their own respect doesn't need the world to notice. In the end, the story of Homelander isn't about a villain. It's about what happens when power outpaces self-awareness, when strength becomes a shield against vulnerability, when a man forgets that real control begins within. So ask yourself, what's driving your ambition? Is it the quiet desire to grow, or the desperate need to be seen? Because if it's the latter, no achievement will ever be enough. There will always be another audience to impress, another image to maintain, another mask to hold up. True power is not about dominance, it's about discipline. The discipline to face your own emptiness without trying to fill it with noise. To look at yourself without flinching. to rebuild without applause, Babso. Homelander teaches us what happens when a person mistakes admiration for love, control for safety, and power for peace. But he also reminds us of something deeper. Even the strongest can crumble if they never learn how to be human. So, slow down. Listen to your silence. Learn to be enough without the crowd. Because when you no longer need to prove your worth, that's when you finally understand what true strength really is. Until next time, stay grounded, stay aware, and keep building the kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen to be real.